With the WNBA season right around the corner, now seems like a better time than ever to talk about a sport I really love. Allow me to introduce to you the beginner's guide to the WNBA. First things first, let's discuss a bit of the history of the WNBA. The Women's National Basketball Association was created by the National Basketball Association in 1996. As such, rules for the WNBA remain quite similar to the NBA with a few key differences. The WNBA plays 4 10-minute quarters as opposed to the NBA's 4 12-minute quarters. The three-point line is about a foot and a half shorter, and they play with a slightly smaller ball. The league was created as a professional league for women to compete in basketball at the highest level. There were attempts to make a female basketball league prior, but none proved successful. The first season was held in 1997. The league started with just 8 teams, and for the first 4 years, one team stood very clearly above the rest.
Swoop's reverse layup is good. Was that pretty or what?
The Houston Comets. I won't go too in-depth to the Houston Comets because their dynasty deserves their own video, to be honest. But here's the SparksNotes version. From 1997 through 2000, the Houston Comets won the first 4 WNBA championships. Winning the championship 4 years in a row is an absurd feat. Winning a championship in any sport is a tough task, but 4 in a row is basically unheard of in the modern era. This incredible feat was done off the backs of legendary players like Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson, but the real leader of this triumph was undoubtedly Cynthia Cooper. Despite being just 5'10", Cynthia Cooper became a master of the pick and roll and averaged career stats of 23 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. In the playoffs! Now these stats, particularly the scoring, may not sound especially crazy when compared to the modern NBA, where random Joes you've never heard of can score 30 in a night just like that. But you have to put into perspective the fact that this was a very different, more defensive era of basketball in general, and oftentimes the end score would look something like this. So yeah, 23 points is a lot in a game where you only score 74. And what's most impressive is that she was putting up these kinds of numbers when she was 38 years old. In basketball terms, 38 is ancient. However, as all good things must, the Comets' winning streak came to a close, and unfortunately, in the wake of the 2008 recession, the team went under. Despite the sad ending to the Comets' story, they are still heralded. Is that a word, heralded? I think so. I'm gonna go with it. The Comets are still heralded as one of the best teams ever, and really laid the groundwork for so many future players and organizations to follow. Heading now into the 2000s, we would see the Los Angeles Sparks win back-to-back titles in 2001 and 2002, off the back of one Lisa Leslie.
Got an open look. Missed the shot from three-point range straight away. Byers gets it up to Leslie. What's she gonna do? She dunked it for the first time.
But after that, it was pretty much a free-for-all. The next 5 years would see 4 different teams win the title. This era would have fantastic players coming out left and right to lead their team who otherwise had little playoff success to a title. Players like Yolanda Griffith and Katie Smith. As great as all those players are, there's one in particular we have to talk about. In 2007, despite not being the leader of the team, the world would catch their first real glimpse of Diana Taurasi. In the finals, Taurasi, who is only in her 4th season at this point by the way, would operate as a second option as a part of the Phoenix Mercury's Big Three. The talents of Diana Taurasi, Penny Taylor, and Finals MVP Cappie Pondexter would lead the Phoenix Mercury to their first ever title win. Taurasi would go on to win another title in 2009 for the Mercury, this time claiming Finals MVP for herself. Moving on to the 2010s, let's talk about the other all-time great team.
High game, 1.7 to go in the 4th. Whalen's a trigger in. Gets it to Moore. Moore will get it off. The shot is good! Game 3 belongs to Maya Moore and Minnesota.
The 2010s Minnesota Lynx would make their championship debut in 2011, and they would continue to win every other year until 2017, racking up 4 rings in the process to match the Houston Comets' previous record. The Minnesota Lynx had some of the most consistent players of all time. Maya Moore was a huge part to each and every single one of those Lynx title runs, and probably could have played a couple more years in the league if she wanted to. Combine her efforts with the likes of Sylvia Fowles, and you've got a recipe for a dynasty that spanned nearly 7 years. Oh, also, one of those years that the Lynx forgot to be good, Diana Taurasi just snuck another championship just for fun. I've skipped a lot of history to keep things very brief, but I figured I would go over the really big moments. Now it's time to bring things back to the modern day. There are currently 12 teams in the WNBA. These teams are split into conferences. Because they're in conferences, you might assume that in the playoffs they only play against their own conference until the finals, like the NBA. The WNBA has made the incredibly base decision to disregard conferences when it comes to playoffs. Playoff seeding is purely determined by regular season performance, which I think is a much better way to format the whole thing. The whole idea of Western and Eastern conferences itself, I find very dated. And while having conferences for the purpose of things like reduced travel makes sense, I think the WNBA is really onto something here. Maybe its big brother could take some notes. Now let's quickly go over what every team's deal is. Rapid fire, go! The Phoenix Mercury. The Phoenix Mercury were the worst team in the league last season, but cut them some slack. They just got back Brittany Griner because the Russians abducted her, and I'm still kind of shocked that whole thing happened. Anyway, craziness aside, shifting focus back towards basketball. The Phoenix Mercury have a very great and long history of winning. They also still have the greatest player of all time on their team, so I wouldn't be too worried. The Seattle Storm. The Storm as a team had a rough season last year, but Jewel Lloyd is having too much fun lighting up scrubs, and I could watch it forever. They also just now, as I'm editing this video, made a bunch of really good moves in the offseason and are now probably a top 4 team in the league. They're definitely worth paying attention to. The Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever are a very fun young team with Rookie of the Year Aaliyah Boston and the number 1 pick in this upcoming draft. The Fever are cooking up a great roster and I can't wait to see what they make of it. The Los Angeles Sparks. The Sparks still have time to put a good team around Nneka Ogwumike, but not that much time. They ran out of time. The Chicago Sky. You made the playoffs. Courtney Williams makes some nice passes. Sorry, that's all I got. I really didn't watch much of the Sky this year. The Washington Mystics. The Mystics are one of the best 7-seeded teams I've ever seen. Elena Delle Donne is so much fun to watch. Unfortunately, it looks like she's decided to step away from basketball. So, I don't know. Blow up the team, set it all on fire, it's gone. The Minnesota Lynx. The Lynx is a truly awesome animal to have as your mascot. Nafissa Collier is legit, and Diamond Miller seems like a promising rookie despite her inconsistencies. The Atlanta Dream. The Dream are mid-city. The Dallas Wings. The Wings are a sneaky good team, and Satu Sabali can really rack it up from the three-point line. The Connecticut Sun. The Sun are always at least pretty good. I think it's because they got such good college programs up there in Connecticut. Dewana Bonner and Alyssa Thomas are a scary set of forwards for any small guard to go up against. The New York Liberty. The New York Liberty could win the title next year. From 2-time MVP Breanna Stewart to the long-ranged assassin that is Sabrina Ionescu to Jonquel Jones, whose ability to hold down the fort even when her teammates are struggling is genuinely very impressive, to the general awesomeness that is Courtney Vandersloot, the New York Liberty are poised to win a title with the incredible amount of talent they have. And if nothing else, they're one of the most fun teams in the league. So far, I've been listing teams in inverse order of where they placed last season. And I did that for a very specific reason. I wanted to save my team for last. The Las Vegas Aces. The Las Vegas Aces had a couple of bad seasons, but being based in Vegas, they got really lucky and hit the jackpot. 3 number 1 overall picks. These picks would go on to be Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, and Aja Wilson. With these players, along with acquisitions from the Sparks and Sky, the Aces were able to construct the best starting 5 in the league. Kelsey Plum is a great shooter from the three-point line and can really make you pay if you don't respect her. Candace Parker may have been injured in the playoffs, but the team she decided to join is so good that it didn't matter. Jackie Young can do it all. She scores when she needs to, she passes, and plays some excellent defense. Chelsea Gray is my GOAT, my favorite player to watch. Her vision on the court is immaculate, and at least once every game she makes a pass that is truly unreal. And lastly but not least, Aja Wilson. I don't even know where to start. She can bully her way into the paint, post up, shoot the cleanest mid-range shot you've ever seen from a player of her size. She has great length and is a blocking machine. Quite literally, I think the only weakness in her game is that she can sometimes struggle to shoot threes. But guess what? She plays with 3 other elite three-point shooters, so she really doesn't even need to. Aja Wilson is the cog that makes the Aces machine run, and is very much deserving of the Finals MVP. The Las Vegas Aces won the Finals both last season and the one prior. They are your back-to-back WNBA champions. Well, there you have it. Some basic history and a general rundown of the league, including its most recent victors. If you're wondering who to root for, I'd say root for the team that's closest to you, or whatever NBA equivalent you may have. If no team operates near you, or you just want to pick one of the good ones, there's plenty of room in the Aces bandwagon. Get in quick though before we win another title. However you enjoy the game is up to you, but get your popcorn soon, because it all starts on May 14th, and the draft is even sooner, coming up this April 15th. So definitely check that out if you want to see where Caitlin Clark, the college phenom, ends up. I hope that through this video I was able to introduce this sport to at least a couple of new people. And maybe some of you already started watching but just wanted a bit of a refresher. Whatever the reason, thanks for watching. Anyways, I've got some very important things to do, but don't forget, go Aces! Hey you! That's the end of the video. I know this is a very different subject matter from my usual videos, so let me know if you enjoyed it. And if not, I'm gonna send Lisa Leslie back in time from her prime to dunk on you.